Alongside Cameron Gaunce, Frankie Corrado and Bryan Hayes joins us from his home bunker. Guys, missed opportunities for Team Canada. Team USA built a team specifically to go against Team Canada. They thought, we don't care who we face in the preliminary rounds. We want to be ready if there's a gold medal game that we can go toe-to-toe and defeat Canada. And that's exactly what they did. The hero, Jack Hughes. How did it finally happen to clinch that golden goal?
When you watch that 3-on-3 goal, that golden goal, if you want to call it, for Hughes, it was just a disarray. Like, there was a bunch of plays that just weren't fully going in the Canadians' way. And especially when McKinnon jumps off the bench. He talked about when he jumped off the bench, he was essentially back-checking right from the jump. And when he was back-checking, he had a decision to make. Was he going to go hard at Werenski and try to get the puck or back off? And when he had a little bit of indecision, that's when his weight was on his back of his feet, and Werenski was able to lift that stick and find Hughes' backside. That play, again, there was a number of things. McKinnon did everything he could on that play, but that play is what opened it up for Hughes to get that puck. And when he got that puck, as he talked, he went 5-hole. Typically, when you're coming across the net like that as a goaltender, you're looking to make sure you keep your hands up and can make the saves. He spread out and he went 5 holes. A wonderful play, and unfortunately, with Werenski's stick lift, just too much.
And keep in mind, we're playing 3-on-3, so it's different than the 5-on-5 everyone's been playing, so it's a little scrambly. We'll get to that, but there's a play at the offensive blue line for Cale Makar where he has a decision to make. Is he going to live to fight another day, or is he going to make an all-or-nothing play? He dove in. He made the all-or-nothing play. He didn't get the puck, didn't get the body. Next thing you know, it's coming right back down the ice. But, like, Team Canada played unbelievable. It came down to this, but it's such a scramble that it comes down to this. And ultimately, Hayes, it's Jack Hughes, the guy who at the Four Nations maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit. Not the case this time around. He gets the golden goal.
Yeah, he really does. And listen, he'll be the most famous man in hockey for the next few weeks. You know, like he's famous in American hockey for the rest of his life. And I think the Hughes brothers really had a moment here. Obviously, with what just happened, you know, with the gold medal goal by Jack. But Quinn obviously wins it in overtime against Sweden in the quarters. And, you know, the transition from the Four Nations to this was different as well, right? The Four Nations was a Stanley Cup playoff game. That's what it felt like, and it was rough, and it was tough, and there were fights, and it was going to be 5-on-5, and it felt like the ice, there was no movement out there. And that probably suited the other famous Canadian brothers, the Tkachuk brothers 12 months ago. This was about the Hughes brothers, and that's what arrived here. This was about skill. This was about poise. This was about finding open ice. And Quinn Hughes was phenomenal throughout the tournament. Jack Hughes was much better in this tournament than he was 12 months ago. And ultimately, if you're a Canadian, you have to give credit where credit's due. The Americans found a way to win this game. You know, we collectively as a hockey country have found a way to win more often than not for the last 50 or 60 years. And tonight, it was the Americans. They've been waiting a long, long time for this. And in the end, you're never going to forget Jack Hughes. I don't think we'll forget about Hellebuck. We may forget about who was on the ice. McDavid, McKinnon, Makar. You can't ask for much better than that. And in the end, it was the Americans that found a way to get it done.
Credit where credit is due. Team USA came out on top, and they earned it. Team Canada had their opportunity. They missed it. It was best on best, and in the end, the Americans won it. Connor Hellebuck won the MVP. He was spectacular. All that aside, what about the way, the format in which this was decided? It's best on best. We waited 12 years for best on best. We're tied 1-1 through regulation, and then you go to 3-on-3 to decide the gold medal game. Hazer, what do you think of that?
Well, I obviously don't love it, but I knew it was coming, and we all did. And if Canada just won this game, no one would be complaining in this country, right? You just, that's the reality. The truth is they wrap up World Cups, FIFA World Cups, on penalty kicks. You know, that's the most popular sport in the world with billions of people watching. Those are on penalty kicks. I never thought we'd get to a shootout tonight, but it was possible after 20 minutes. We knew it was coming. In 2010, it was 4-on-4. Does any Canadian put an asterisk on Sidney Crosby's winning goal? I don't think so. I've never heard it. So I don't love it. Obviously, I would have preferred 5-on-5. I would prefer the NHL kind of Stanley Cup playoff rules. But as the panel was talking over there in Milan, I think as we all have to accept here, Frankie, the reality is you can't play 3 or 4 overtimes, right? These guys, they got to get back. The NHL's waiting for them. The closing ceremony is waiting for them. So when we all sign up for this, the players, the NHL, the NHLPA, and all the fans in Canada and the U.S., we knew this game was coming. They were getting to the gold medal. It was always inevitable. It was always going to be these two teams. It was always going to be a close game, and it was very likely it was going to go to overtime. We knew it was going to be 3-on-3. It was on Canada to find a way to avoid that. They couldn't, or win it in 3-on-3. I would have preferred 5-on-5, but I'm not going to sit here and complaining, and I don't think anyone should, because if Canada found a way to come up with a golden goal, we'd be loving 3-on-3. The reality is Canada did, and the Americans did.
And every player knew what they signed up for here. We knew that this was coming, and this would be largely fan-driven. We just watched such an incredible game. The theatrics, the missed breakaways, the saves, the empty nets, how close of the margins it actually was. Of course no one wants that to end. We want to keep watching that, but at 3-on-3, we're essentially playing a different sport. But everyone knows the deal, and both teams are doing it. I think that's the main thing that you look at when you're an athlete. It's like, I'm not at a disadvantage because both teams are doing the exact same thing. So, I know it, as far as the finish and the theatrics of it, we want to have 5-on-5. We want to do the game justice, and maybe people think that 3-on-3 doesn't do it justice, but everyone knew what they signed up for with this.
If I knew how an audible fart noise would sound on my mic, I would make that right now, because I understand what you two are saying, and it makes sense. Everyone knew what they signed up for. It doesn't mean it's not an absolute joke. Like, you just talked about the integrity of the game. Basketball, 5-on-5, they created a whole nother sport for 3-on-3 for the Olympics. Now we have to play this. Preliminary rounds, 3-on-3, you can understand. That's a logistical thing. You need to make sure you have the ice available for other teams to play. Fine. This is the gold medal game to decide who's the best hockey playing country for men's hockey and women's hockey as well in the world. And they decide it with a 3-on-3. It is just crazy. I'm not saying the States had a better advantage. If anything, Canada had the better advantage because they've got the more skill, if you want to talk about the three players that were on the ice. But the idea that the IOC or the IHF, are going to come to that, I think was just a lazy decision, that they couldn't have just decided, hey, we're going to turn this into 5-on-5 as it goes on to create the proper result. Again, it is what it is. Everyone knew what they're saying. I understand what you're saying, Hayes. I understand what you're saying, Frankie. You're right. But it's an absolute joke that the biggest competition in the world for this is decided at 3-on-3.
At the end of the day, Connor Hellebuyck was the MVP of the gold medal game. Connor McDavid was the MVP of the tournament, did all he could do. Big hole, though, no Sidney Crosby. And we're all left wondering, what if Crosby were healthy and got a chance to play?